All right, in this video, we're going to take a look at solving systems of equations using a new method, which is called the elimination method. So far, we've done problems by graphing. So we solved systems by graphing two lines and looked where they intersected. And then we did solve by substitution, where we plugged in a value for one of the x's or the y's and solved. This method is just a different way of solving equations, and we use it generally when the two equations you're given are set up in standard form, which is what it looks like for example number 1. Standard form is when you have a number times a letter. So a number, you have the 3 times the x plus a number times another letter, so the 2 times the y, equals a constant. And you want both of those equations to be set up like that. So now with elimination, what we're going to do is let's just take a look and see what happens. If you add these two equations together, what's going to be the result? So if I draw a line here and add the two equations together, I have 3x's plus 2x's, so that gives me 5x's. And then notice what happens here with the 2y and the minus 2y. These eliminate because 2 minus 2 is 0. So 2y minus 2y is 0. And then when you're adding, you have to make sure you add everything in each equation. So I have to add the 8 plus 12 and get 20. And so now this is a much easier problem to solve. I can evaluate this and solve for x. So I would divide both sides by 5. And just like that, you've got the first value of one of your variables, which is x equals 4. Remember though, with our systems, there's another coordinate because we're looking for a solution, which is an xy value. So now that I've found that x equals 4, I have to plug in that value and solve for the y value. So I'm going to rewrite the first equation. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 4 for x. So remember, that means I replace the x and put 4 in its place with parentheses. And then this is similar to our substitution method. I just multiply and solve this equation for y. So 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract 12 on both sides. I get 2y equal to negative 4. And then I can divide. Y equals negative 2. So my solution to this system of equations is 4 comma negative 2. Because remember, it's always your x value comma your y value. So remember what that means is if I were to graph those two lines, that's where the two lines would intersect. Let's try one more example. So this time, let's say my two equations are x plus y equals 6 and negative x plus y equals 8. So again, we're going to try this elimination method because we have the two equations set up in standard form. And I'm just going to add the equations together to see what happens. So when I add these equations together, I'm going to put a plus sign in the front here. Notice that x plus negative x, so it's 1x plus negative 1x, that's going to cancel. Remember the opposite signs, if they're the same coefficient, the same number, they're going to cancel and give you 0. And then I add my y's together, I have 2y, and 6 plus 8 is 14. So now I can divide both sides by 2, and y equals 7. Remember, you're not done because you have to plug this back in. So I'm going to pick my top equation. You could actually pick either equation. I generally just go with the top one. Plug in y for 7 this time. So I have to rewrite this, and instead of the y, I'm going to plug in 7. And then now I can solve this. This only has one step because I didn't have to multiply. And I get x equal to negative 1. So my solution for this equation, these two systems, remember it's your x comma y. So in this problem, it's negative 1 comma 7. And that's solving using elimination. It does get a little bit more challenging if you're not able to add the equations together to eliminate a variable, but that'll be our next video where we'll start looking at what do we need to do in order to set up for elimination.